welcome back, everybody. We are back with a brand new episode this week with both of us back.
Yeah, it's good to be back with the both of us now. I mean, it feels like forever ago, even though it was only like 2 weeks.
I
So
was
it's good
just
to be
thinking
back.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we haven't really been like, usually you and I chat a lot during the week, and we just haven't been recently. So it feels like forever since we've actually had a conversation.
Yep, and that's basically what we're talking about today too, which is kind of wild.
Yeah. We'll get into it, but I did notice that I was like, I think I responded to your Snapchat stories here and there, and then yesterday I responded to your food story because I'm jealous of your food, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, man, I feel like I haven't talked to Christoph in forever. I don't know, like I don't like this.
For reference, the meal that he commented on was 5 ounces of turkey bacon, 10 eggs, 2 Italian sausages, and a cup of peas.
Bro, rest in peace your wallet, man, with those eggs. Are you shitting me? That's ridiculous.
I buy my eggs in pallets.
Yeah, you buy a pallet at a time. You have to get like one of those
5,000.
rolling.
No,
Yeah,
no,
it's 60 of them.
A pallet. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like an actual wooden pallet. I was like, you got to get like a mini
No.
forklift or something just to bring it home. But yeah, I used to buy those a lot at BJ's. I used to have eggs a lot. I used to have just about the same. It was like 4 or 5 eggs in the morning and then about the same at night. So I'd crush eggs every day. So I'd have to buy a lot at a time. But,
yeah, it's just my non-training days. I need 10 eggs for my non-training days. So
yeah. My new plan now has Greek yogurt for my final meal. Greek yogurt and 1 egg, and I'm fucking loving it. It's sick. Because at first, I didn't like Greek yogurt, so it's non-fat Greek yogurt. It's just super protein dense. So at first, I didn't like it, but then I kind of started fiddling with it. I threw some equal in it, and then I think it's Oikos makes 000. It's called 000, and it's all zero, everything except for protein pretty much. So I buy that, and it's flavored, so I don't have to add anything to it. So that's really good. It's just expensive. Non-fat Greek yogurt's fucking expensive. Like, I think it's like if I want to go as cheap as possible, I get like Food Lion brand, and that's like $4.50, and that'll last me like maybe 3 or 4 days, which in the grand scheme of things is expensive for just one thing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, for my Greek yogurt in the week, I'm the big like the family tubs basically. I buy 6 of those a week.
6?
Yeah, because I need basically a cup and a half of Greek yogurt every day. So
yeah, I have 1 cup right now.
Yeah.
So you're crushing 1 every 2.5 days.
Essentially.
Yeah, because it's usually 5. I think it's 5 servings of 3/4 cup. I think, and you're crushing 2 servings, so that'd be 2.5 days. That's wild. Greek yogurt tastes so good though when you add stuff to it. On its own, I'm not a fan of it, but if you add some sweetener or something to it.
Yeah, I was dying when my coach put me on it, but then I asked if I could blend it, and he was like, "Yeah." So I said,
"Yeah,
absolutely," and so now I love it.
I asked my coach, if there's anything I could add because I was like, "Oh, it tastes terrible," and then I feel like he kind of got insulted, and I was like, "No, I don't mean it tastes terrible." I was like, "That's a bad wordage." I was like, "I don't like it plain. Is there anything you think I could add to it?" And he's just like, "Oh, add stevia and cinnamon," and I'm like, okay, I could do that. So I just added some equal because I didn't have any cinnamon, and it ended up being really good. Because that's really all it is. It just tastes like regular yogurt, just not sweet at all. So once you add the sweetener, it's like, oh, it's just like regular yogurt. But when you get that flavored stuff from Oikos or whatever, it's pretty good. There's no sweetener or anything in it, I don't think.
It's just tough because we avoid those sugar content so much, and there's just so few flavored options that aren't like nuking your sugar levels for the day.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's I the amount of stuff that I've had to figure out to like just get by like no sugar and no sweet artificial sweeteners fine, but like no natural sweeteners and stuff like that is ridiculous. Like natural sweeteners isn't like sugar or anything that adds calories. It's hard. Like I have to buy like the 0 sugar everything, 0 calorie everything. I did buy Circle, so you guys saw my last episode. This Circle bottle, this thing's fucking awesome. Get a Circle bottle if you can. And then just like having to buy like the seasonings too, like seasonings and sauces, they're all low calorie. That's also hard to buy. So that's difficult.
My seasoning is just salt and pepper. That's all I use now.
I hop back and forth. I look at seasonings all the time whenever I go to the store to see if there's anything new. And as long as it doesn't have like sugar in it, it's probably 0 calories. And it's also usually it's per quarter teaspoon. So it's usually not much seasoning in it as far as like the serving goes. So you got to be careful of that because you might be like, oh, 5 calories per serving. That's not bad. But it's like, dude, the serving is like half a teaspoon on that thing. And you're sprinkling like 2 tablespoons on there. Like that's a shit ton of calories. So you got to be careful of that. It's annoying when seasonings just put a shit ton of sugar in it. And it also sucks too because my favorite barbecue sauce is Stubbs Sticky Sweet. It's just extremely sweet barbecue sauce and it tastes so good, but it's just packed full of sugar. So it's like, I can't have that shit now. But Sweet Baby Ray's makes the 0 sugar barbecue sauce. That's pretty good. I like their 0 sugar stuff. That's pretty good.
I'm just so thankful that hot sauces are allowed because
Yes.
I'm a fiend for that stuff. Like I have a store that I get stuff shipped to me to or from, and I get all the crazy stuff like the anal blaster 6000. Like that's one of my favorites. Like they come up with all the wild names, and it's just such goofy stuff.
Yeah. I just buy mine from the local store and I try out different ones. I have a habanero one right now that's pretty good. It's sweet. I think it's mixed with like a little bit of pineapple juice to make it sweet. And then I got one from Target that's pretty good. It's garlic and Aleppo pepper. That one's pretty good because it adds a little bit of garlic taste to it. That's my problem with hot sauces, which we've talked about, is that it's never for me. It's never the hotness that bothers me. It's the flavor. Like so many hot sauces rely on just being hot rather than having a good flavor.
The hotness is the flavor.
No, I don't want just hotness. I want good flavor. It needs to taste good.
My go-to is literally just a crushed Carolina Reaper. There's nothing else to it.
No, then that's just pain. Like hotness adds a zing to it that I like, but it also needs to taste good. Like that's why I don't like Tabasco sauce. Like the hotness is fine, but it just tastes terrible. Like it's just not a good tasting sauce. Same with like what's it called? Red Hot or whatever. Wait, there's another one. I forget this other. It's a very, very popular one. You can find it in grocery stores. It's a big, but you can buy it in big bottles. Forget what it's called.
Frank's Red Hot.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah. Yes, that one. That stuff doesn't taste good either. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I do love.
It's not even spicy.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't taste good. I do love Cholula though. Cholula is really, really good. It tastes phenomenal. It's not spicy really at all, but it still tastes good. You got to find a way around it.
Cholula is also good because you can pick up like in every grocery store they have like the 4 different options, which is great.
Yeah.
Like vegetable specific ones like that. They do a really good job marketing. So that's why consumer wise and like it's in every store. Like that's like it's like a staple. Like every restaurant you go to is probably serving you Cholula hot sauce if you ask for it.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It tastes good, and I'm not upset about it. It's just a lot of them just don't taste good, and like I said, that's my biggest problem with it. And it's hard to find stuff that tastes good that doesn't affect the plan. Because we have to eat the same thing every single day. And I mean, I wish I had your food, dude. Like I see your food, I'm like, fuck, like that sounds so good. But my meals consist of like eggs, egg whites, chicken, rice. I have sirloin every day. I get carne piccata, which then I put on the pan and it melts a lot of the fat off of it. And then I scoop that out and I have that with potatoes. So it's like I just put some garlic salt, a little bit of onion powder and some pepper in that. And then I call it a day. And it's pretty easy to like kind of measure out because it's like kind of like shredded steak. So it's like in small balls, kind of like it'd be really good for tacos. Like you'd use stuff like that for tacos, but it's still a steak. So it's like figuring out like how to enjoy your meals is also difficult, which we've talked about plenty of times, but it is very difficult. And it's exciting to get a new meal plan, but then when you're on that meal plan for like more than a month, it's like, all right, I'm kind of ready for something new. That variety is exciting, but that's why with the new plan, the biggest things he really changed was just 10 more grams of grits before my workout. And then also, he added the Greek yogurt and he's like, I just added the Greek yogurt so you can have some variety. And I'm like, fucking thank you. Like I'm tired of 4 meals of chicken every single day. So now I have 3 meals of chicken every day. a steak meal, a Greek yogurt meal, and then in the morning it's just eggs and Ezekiel bread. So it's a good mix. It's a good mix.
Yeah, and I think that almost somewhat segues into our topic for the day because when I'm on
Yeah.
my meal plan right now, I'm allowed like variance in terms of like if I need to take a cheat meal or even a whole cheat day at different points, I'm able to do that right now.
Yep.
Like the example I'm going to spit out there is that uh this past week I had a pipe burst here in my apartment and it flooded and the whole building flooded. So I just couldn't use my kitchen for 2 days. And I texted my coach and I was like, hey man, like I can absolutely go get like some options that stay within the plan, but that's not going to happen for the whole day because it's just not sustainable. And he was like, yeah, you're going through a shit time. You do what you have to do. Just make sure you get to like the calorie count because right now we're just focusing on sizing up and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I hit like I try and do it as clean as I can. So I do like a Subway's option. If I'm gonna do burgers, I do like Five Guys just because of how dense their food is.
Hmm.
But that was kind of allowed to me because my coach realized that I was in a stressful situation.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of what, or that is what we're going to be kind of covering today with today's episode. Basically, we're going to be talking about stress as it affects the body and also stress as it affects within our workout plans. Because
Yeah.
obviously, Paul and I, our workout like just we're in there too much, and we work out all the time, and we get affected. Like we are humans too, and that's what I think a lot of people don't really realize when they see. And I'm not at all calling us, figureheads in the podcast world or anything, but when they see famous people, they assume that they're not human anymore. They can handle everything, and
Hmm.
we're, and again, not saying we're at all famous. We're not, but um, to all our international listeners out there, they're like, no, they're our favorites. But we get affected by stuff too, and that's where we want to kind of take the conversation today. Just
Hmm.
because as we get over the end of the kind of seasonal depression hump, as spring is right around the corner. Luckily, Paul doesn't have to deal with it as bad as I do up here because
That's why I
Paul,
left.
Paul gets sun all the time.
Yep.
But I actively see snow outside. Like we're in a, ooh, that's a Zoa. Nice choice.
No, this is a Redcon one. Zoa is
Oh
very
man.
good though. Zoa is
And
very good. Very slept on.
yes. But with seasonal, like the seasonal or sorry, the time of seasonal depression, which is generally the winter months, just because of how dark it gets and how little sunlight, people tend to have a lot rougher of times, and that affects their daily lives. It affects their workouts if they're working out,
Hmm.
and that's kind of where we want to take this today. So like I was saying earlier, like with my apartment, everything flooded. I was in the ringer of it. Like I was going through the ringer in terms of how I was being affected because I couldn't even sleep really properly in my apartment anymore, so I had to figure out alternatives, and right away it affected my meal plan. And for you guys who have listened, you know how sacred the meal plan is to Paul and I. Like
Hmm.
in terms of our gains, like meal comes first, workout comes second. And for that to be affected, that takes a big toll on me. And I wasn't able to, feel the same energy levels because that's the purpose of a meal plan. Like consistently how you're going to feel throughout the day, especially when you get your meals timed up and everything. And so you take that factor out, and you're just naturally going to feel different, even if it's not your energy levels. You just feel different because something is off, and that's kind of how I was. And I remember that week I went in for a leg day from my plan, and I got 3/4 of the way through the workout, and I just had to stop. I full stop. Normally I do cardio afterwards too. I had to
Hmm.
cut everything out, and I texted my coach and I was like, "Hey man, I just cannot do that. Like I cannot finish this lift. I'm I was at the point of falling asleep too because I wasn't sleeping at the time, and all of that leads to stress. And our bodies can handle some stress, but extended periods of stress is a no-go, and high amounts of stress is a no-go.
Hmm.
So in terms of workouts, uh, they just actively get affected. Some people are able to, harness stress and use that as something they use in the gym and actually push themselves harder, which I can see it. But in this situation, it just did not work for me. And I'm glad that my coach was as open about it as he was and helping me out. And
Hmm.
that's when he also sent me the first time he's ever complimented my physique. He sent that, and that was a big hype
What did he
moment for
say?
me. He just said you're because I texted him saying I don't feel like I'm doing this like this, basically just downing myself the whole way through. And he said you're actually doing really well, and
Hmm.
that little bit right there was like, all right, let's refocus. And
Hmm.
overall, it just that whole situation just crushed my mental, and the mental is a big part of what we use in the gym. So
What I wanted to ask you this. So you're on the second floor. How did the pipe burst affect you? Was it in your kitchen that the pipe burst
yeah.
happened?
So normally I'll set my dishwasher before I leave for the day. Like if I
Okay.
have a load of dishes that I need done,
Yeah.
and it was right after a regular temperature. I think -7, wind chill -30. I think.
Yeah, that was a
And
rough weekend.
yeah, and I just said it. I went to go. I think I went back to my parents' place in a couple towns over to do some laundry, and then on the way back, I got a text from the people living beneath me saying, "Hey, our apartment is completely flooded. You don't even want to see the basement. Get back here when you can." And I was like, "Ah, shit!"
Shit.
And it was the line from the water main to the dishwasher, and
Uh-huh.
that just hit the floor. My kitchen floor is linoleum, so it just slid right off that and just pooled right in the center. There's a spot in like the center of my apartment that is just like dipped in, and I think the floorboards might have to be replaced because of just how structurally imbalanced it is right now.
Yeah. And it's from what I could tell, is relatively older construction for that building. I mean, that's most of Massachusetts. I mean, everything's fucking old. So the most likely they're gonna have to replace it. What did your I'm assuming you have like a landlord, right?
Yep,
Okay, what did they
he's
do?
he's not the best. So to explain the situation more, I had a maintenance guy come in, and he's actively sawing off a pipe, turns to me and goes, "Hey man, I'm actually a carpenter, but don't worry, we're gonna figure this out."
Nice.
so so
Sick.
I'm in a bit of a lower income, lower class area, so I don't expect to have top tier guys, but I hope to at least have the guy
At
in the
least a
field he's
plumber.
working with. Yeah.
That's like having like somebody doing heart surgery and they're like, "Don't worry, it'll be fine. I'm a dentist. I know what I'm doing." And it's like, I don't know if I want you working on my heart, then, dude. Like,
No, it's a dude who's like, "Don't worry, I've watched Grey's Anatomy. I'm good."
yeah, yeah. I've watched plenty of Grays. I know what I'm doing here now. Sorry, I got this. Don't
Um,
worry.
yeah. So, actually, the weekend that it happened, my landlord was on vacation in Maine, so he didn't get back until 2 days later, and,
I mean, go
yeah.
ahead.
So, I got a text, I was at work, and it was the site manager, and she was like, "Hey, so and so, my landlord's coming by,"
Hmm.
and when I got back that day, because I couldn't be there, he had moved all my furniture to one corner of the room, and I had locked my kitties in my bedroom for all the days prior just because they can't be out.
Hmm.
And he had taken first. He turned on the overhead fan in my bathroom and just left that running just to get air circulating.
Okay.
Um, and then I have a small little circle fan that I use in my bedroom because I sleep with air moving, and he had just put it on the ground and aimed it at the spot where the water had been.
Trying to dry it out a little bit.
But it's a tiny fan.
Yeah, it's not going to do much. I mean, maybe marginal at best,
Yep.
but that's
So
wild.
more or less nothing got done. I think he did clean it a little bit because I don't see the mold building up anymore.
Uh
So I
huh.
think that was at least taken care of. But there's an act like the lady who lives in the basement 2 floors beneath me. She had me come down, and there's just a hole in her ceiling.
Yeah, that's wild.
So of course, I got stressed because that's my apartment, but also because I feel responsible for the people that live underneath me.
Yeah.
And that just all built up into my I mean, I was sleeping in until like 5 minutes before I had to be at work, and I was just flying out of bed and rushing out to get to work, and I stopped eating for those 2 days to the plan. I mean, granted, I didn't have a kitchen, but, I was eating
Hmm.
whatever, and then my
Yeah.
lifts just suffered for those a stretch of, like, 2, 3 days. I mean, my lift, 2 days ago was baller, I crushed it, but,
Yeah.
um, we're back in it now, but as a whole, it was like, "Alright, this situation really messed with me."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you. That is a tough situation to be
Yeah.
in. I don't blame you.
And like I said, there's people who can channel stress and use it as like another motivator in the gym. I know the super common one is when someone gets heartbroken. The meme is like
Hmm.
the baggy hoodie over headphones, and you just don't talk to them. It's like trend rage.
Hmm.
And I've personally used that as a motivator before as well. But this situation was completely different, which just continues to show me that we're just such interesting creatures of
We're just
like,
human.
yeah, our minds
We're
are
human.
so whacked out that
Yeah.
different things affect us,
Yeah.
and like I was surprised that I couldn't even do my cardio, because cardio is something I do absent-mindedly. I just stare
Yeah.
like around the gym. That's probably a time when some TikTok girl could probably catch me on a video or something like that. Um,
Especially nowadays, all you got to do is look at him for half a second
but
and be
that's what I
like,
mean,
"I got you on camera, you motherfucker.
and
You
I don't even
peeping
notice I'm
tom."
doing it. Like when
Yeah.
I'm doing cardio, I'm just kind of like I'm full like I lose a chromosome when I'm doing cardio. Like I'm just
I
staring
just
around.
read. I just read, and I try to forget that I'm doing cardio as much as I can. I hate
Yeah.
cardio so much.
But yeah, that's kind of my most recent exposure to the stress situation. So I don't know if you have a situation that you've had similar, because actually I'm gonna put one on you. Your wedding obviously was a happy moment, but building up to it, no way in hell you didn't have stress. So what was your workouts looking like that week or 2 week leading up to it? Obviously before the boys
Um,
got there.
I was more stressed leading up to like having to pay off everything in time. So it
Hmm.
wasn't even the wedding. Once everything was paid off, all my stress lifted off my body. I was good. So it really wasn't that bad the week prior. I mean, I got nervous during it, but obviously that's not going to affect my workouts or anything. But like, yeah,
False.
what's that?
False. We did a bicep pump right before you walked out there, so that is false. It did affect it.
Okay, fair. But like it was more the stress of just paying off the photographers and stuff like that, and and then on top of that, at the time, I just started my new job and I wasn't really bringing in much commission, so my overall money that I was bringing in was less than what I used to be bringing in. So that was tough, because I was living differently financially, not like night and day, but enough to be like I don't really have much income to put towards the wedding right now, but we already committed to everything. So it's like I had to do like tons of DoorDash and Uber Eats and try to cut corners when it comes to food and training and stuff. I canceled a gym membership because of it. And even though that's not a lot of money, it was $25 a month. $25 a month still adds up over time. And I didn't necessarily need two gym memberships. So, it's just you got to there's just different priorities you have in life, and I prioritized my wedding at the time, and we did also prioritize the wedding for bodybuilding as well. If we didn't have the wedding at the time we did, I could have competed by now. But it just I gave my body the rest it needed, after being stressed so much from different, compounds that I was taking that my body didn't respond too well and stuff like that. So, and from training. So, I took a week and gained like 10 pounds or whatever. And then, wasn't training at all during that week and just came back and just crushed it. So, it's leading up to just paying everything off was more the stress for me. And then also a lot of the stress, like, believe it or not, a lot of the stress was after the wedding. With the holidays coming up, and then after that was her birthday, which just happened, and then it's Valentine's Day. Like it was like nonstop for like 3 4 months, and at the same time, I wasn't making what I was making. So for those that don't know, I'm in sales and marketing. and a lot of the structure of what you make is commission. Obviously, you want more salary with whatever position you have, but when I took that job, my salary was around 45K, and my OTE, which is on target earnings. So if I hit my sales quota, I'll make 130K. That's why I took the salary cut, because I took a $5,000 salary cut because I could make more than double what I was making. But the position that I was in, the money was my job was essentially working with partners who resell our services. So at the time, I didn't have enough partners to be bringing in that money. And it's not like I can go sell the products, because I really couldn't. That wasn't my job. So my job relied on other people selling stuff for me, and they weren't doing their job doing that. So I wasn't bringing in this money. So I was really not really making any commission at all, to be honest. Maybe $20 here and there. It wasn't much. So I had to do DoorDash during lunch, and then especially leading up to the wedding, I had to do like Uber Eats and Uber before the gym. I would eat, go do like an hour of Uber, and then go lift. And like that shit was really what added up. And then like after the wedding, I had to save up for a flight to go home to Massachusetts for the holidays. And then all of a sudden we had the holidays down here, and not to mention I had to buy gifts and everything. So it's like it all adds up. And I know people say, oh, don't focus on the presents for Christmas and stuff, but it's like I want to get people something. And when you get something for everybody, it adds up real fast. So that's what was stressing for me. And that was also the time that I think it was December. Yeah, it was like middle of December where I just like talked to my coach, and I'm like, dude, I think we talked about this before, but I was like, dude, I feel like I'm not making any progress. I mean, I'm killing myself on keto, and I feel like I'm just not dropping the weight. And, I'm just feeling like shit all the time because of keto. And, I have no energy in the gym. I'm losing strength. And it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And he's just like, let's just trust the process. We'll figure it out. We'll get some blood work done because you're not making progress on keto. And he's like, I've never seen this before. So something that I want to mention too is that not only will your mind affect how you're feeling emotionally, it also affects you drastically hormonally too. Your mind plays such a role on your hormones, and it's been studied time and time again. Watch Andrew Huberman and watch More Plates, More Dates. I'll always preach them. Phenomenal endocrinologist that Andrew Huberman is. A lot of his stuff, I mean, some of his stuff is kind of here, like kind of back and forth when it comes to bodybuilding, but for just overall life, he's great to listen to. More Plates, More Dates has the bodybuilding focus. And when you have stress and you're kind of feeling negative about yourself, it literally affects everything. So one thing I wanted to mention today, I'll go into more about why I'm stressing out right now, specifically the past couple of weeks, but it's actually a good time we talked about this because I'm going through something very similar to what you were going through. So something to mention too is that when I got my blood work done towards the end of December, I think it was like end of December, beginning January, a lot of the reason I wasn't making any progress, come to find out, obviously my cholesterol is kind of a little off. It's always a little off, just outside the range for everything, but it's my prolactin buildup. Prolactin is primarily essentially a hormone that's primarily in women. It helps with, especially pregnancies. They produce a lot more of it during pregnancy, but men build prolactin just naturally. We're supposed to have prolactin, just like how we're supposed to have estrogen. It's one of those hormones we just have to have. But prolactin affects everything, and people don't talk about prolactin at all. Just like estrogen affects everything, testosterone affects everything. So my prolactin was significantly higher than it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be between like 10 to 15 nanograms per deciliter. Mine was like just over 20, which is a lot. And what prolactin is going to do is, if you have very high prolactin as a male, what's going to happen is you're going to put on more fat. You're going to, if you have gyno issues like I do, I'm going to be transparent. I have gyno issues. That's my main side effect when it comes to anything I take. It's just gyno. I have to keep it under control with AIs and all of that. It really, prolactin, if your estrogen is low, prolactin is still going to affect your gyno. So it's going to be sensitive. It's going to build that gland up. And then also at the same time, it's going to keep your fat on. And if you're really high in prolactin, you actually start to lactate. As a man, you start to lactate. Obviously, I never got to that point. Thank God. Yeah, I would never got to that point. But, I'm going to be fixing the prolactin issue with this week coming up, and I'm very excited about it because I think that was the whole reason why I wasn't making any progress, is because my prolactin was keep my fat on. It was hurt my gyno. It was hurt my, my mental health. It was affecting me in the gym. So, like, just getting a basic full, like not basic, but like a full panel, like a full hormone panel when you feel like you're not making any progress in the gym, especially if you're on TRT or anabolics, can tell you everything you need to know. So that's what happened there. So prolactin is the reason why I wasn't making any progress, and we determined that. And something that if you know someone who's ever been on DECA or Tren, they can tell you all about prolactin, because there's a supplement called cabergoline, and what cabergoline is going to do is going to lower your prolactin. That's going to be taken next week. Cabergoline lowers your prolactin and is going to help with shedding fat, keeping your guy under control, everything like that. Right? It's essentially the supplement it's the medicine that was built to help fight it. So Tren and DECA affect your prolactin heavily. So when you're on Tren, especially Tren, you typically need to be taking cabergoline with it. DECA, if you know anything about DECA, which is I always forget the full name for it. I'm Googling it right now. I always forget the full name for it. But DECA has this term. It's called DECA-dick. It's kind of like whiskey dick. You have a very hard time getting it up, and you have a very hard time having sex. So decadurabolin is, or nandrolone decanoate, whatever you want to call it. So nandrolone decanoate is the official name for it. It's an anabolic steroid. So DECA, you get DECA-dick, and it's because it raises your prolactin, which will affect your sex drive. So for me, my libido's never been a problem really, but it's the fat and it's the gyno that the prolactin is affecting. And Andrew Huberman did talk about that on the Joe Rogan podcast. He talked about how studies have been done for a lot of men, especially on TRT, where the issue isn't actually estrogen that's affecting their sex drive, their fat, their gyno, all of that. It's actually the prolactin. And it's a very, very underutilized hormone when it comes to monitoring it. So you need to really be monitoring your prolactin. So I wanted to say that, at least, because if you are going through something right now and you feel like you're not making any progress, you're putting on fat, whatever it is, get a blood check. It might not be prolactin, but it could be. We never know. That's why you get the blood check. We don't know what it is. So get that checked. But to lead into what we were saying again was 2 weeks ago, Monday the 30th or 31st, whatever it was, I got laid off from my job. They laid off a big portion of the department that I was in. Some of the biggest players, and even somebody like me who was bringing in plenty of deals that week. Even, I mean, I had so many deals coming in for the company, like they lost a lot of money. So they laid off a lot of people. So that's the reason why I'm stressing out right now, is because I there's a severance pay and everything when it comes to being laid off, but you never know when your next paycheck is going to come in, essentially, from an actual job. So that's very stressful. And, having to apply to all these different places, having all these different phone calls. And, at the level that I'm at when it comes to sales, you got like 3-4 interview steps to go through. You got like the introductory call, you got the sales manager, you got like the director, and then you got like sometimes the CEO, you got the VP of sales, you got all these different guys who have to approve you, because they're going to be paying you, ideally, like the commission checks I'm looking at are going to be in the 6-figure mark, but you need to earn that, obviously. But if they're going to pay you 6 figures, they're going to want to know that you're worth it. So it takes a long process. I mean, from start to finish, applying to a job and actually starting usually takes like a month. So it's very stressful trying to get through that, severance pay and everything regardless, but also just making sure you can pay your rent, you can buy your food, stuff like that. So I was, with this position, at least, I'm fortunate enough to be able to get a severance pay, because if I didn't get severance, I would be screwed. So I'm happy at least about the severance, but I wish I would just have my job, obviously. But it is very stressful, and it has been affecting me in the gym. More so that my schedule is all kind of whack right now because of like different interviews and phone calls and all of that, and trying to do Uber and DoorDash to bring in some extra money so that I can make rent next month. So it is stressful, that's for sure. And when you have stress and you have negative thoughts, it's going to affect you in every single way. So definitely try your best to make sure your mental health is there, and stop with this whole like, oh, I'm never going to fail in the gym and I have to go regardless. And it's like, your mental health is way more important than your physical health and your physical well-being. And if, I had this a couple weeks ago, I cut out a movement for my leg day because I was just toast. I was just like, man, my body's toast. I'm mentally toast. This is the Thursday after I got laid off. You know, I was applying everywhere, get all these emails. I just wasn't focused, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not doing myself any favors by lifting right now, so I'm just going to finish up this movement and just head out. You know, I think going and lifting is better than not doing it at all, but it's okay to be like, I'm not going to get the best workout today, or I'm not going to finish this workout. It's not the best I've had, and I'm just going to call it after this. Like, it's okay to do that. You know, it's there's this whole gun ho mentality within the fitness industry right now, and that's not how it should be. You need to focus on your mental health, and you know, it could be our outlet. You know, it is a lot of the time our outlet. It is where we relieve a lot of our stress, but if your stress is not like producing good results in the gym and it's not proactively helping you, then just don't even bother with it. Just go do what makes you happy. You know, I after that leg day, I called it. I came home. I had to make those phone calls. I scheduled them, but besides that, I just played a little bit of video games by myself and just kind of escaped reality for a bit. And that's sometimes all you need. You know, so I've been trying to play some more video games recently because I just need to escape reality for a little while. And you know, the gym keeps me in reality because I'm so focused on my workout and I'm so focused on improving myself for the future. All I can think about is reality. So sometimes you just need that little escape, and it's okay. Don't be upset that you didn't have a good workout. So just wanted to at least express that.
Yeah, and I think another thing that you brought up that was really cool, or not cool, but a
Mhm.
part that was really important to bring up is that the workouts do not need to intensify or increase when you're in a situation like this. Like for example, I've been my workout plan is 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, and then it
Mhm.
repeats. So it's a 6 day cycle, and so I mean it overlaps because you're not doing things the same day and whatnot. Um, and I these past 2 weeks have been doing one on, one off, one on, one off, one on, one off, just because that's how I'm able to properly get my workouts in. Like at the end of the day, what coach wants to see out of me is like my consistency in my workouts. And if I can't bring that consistency and that intensity that I'm supposed to be doing, I might as well fit in another rest day, recharge, and get ready for the next day.
Mhm.
And that is, if you listen to me from the beginning of the podcast to now, that's not how I would have answered that question, 4 months ago. This is because back then I was doing 7 days a week, and anytime shit hit the fan, I was in the gym more.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the maturing around the gym life is noticing that even though like Paul and I use it as iron therapy, like it's our place of sanctity and like serenity, but even with something like that, you can't be in there if you know you're not going to be producing the same results that you want to be seeing. Like sure you can go in and even though we both hate cardio, like if I was in a bad situation and knew that I couldn't really lift, I would go in and do like an hour of cardio just to like take myself out of the mental
Yeah.
state because I go completely stupid when I'm doing cardio. Like I'm just sitting there and just completely spaced out. So
Yeah.
that kind of stuff is a helpful way to use the gym, but it's important to realize that some days it's just not there.
Mhm.
And when you can't complete a workout, like Paul and I both said about our situations, like that is your kind of like sign. It's like, all right, man, you need to take more time to focus on you. And yeah, the gym is focusing about you, but you need to do it in a much less strenuous way. Um, and that's maturity. Not everybody has that, and that's something you have to kind of build towards. And stressful situations, as you don't want them to happen to you, but they're inevitable. There's no person who lives a true stress-free life. Like even the Buddhist monks, I bet, have stress about something. Like
Mhm.
there's there's always going to be a stress factor, and you need to be able to recognize that. And that's a big part of what we're talking about, like just the recognizing aspect. um like Paul recently got laid off, like you just said, and I recently submitted my resignation, which I in theory was going to go over very well because I've got a great thing lined up and I've got a supportful group of people around me. And the day I submitted it was the worst day of my entire career. This was yesterday. the worst day of my entire career, because people made me feel like shit and all of that. And that right there, I just I planned on taking a workout that day. I just halfway through the day said I'm taking a rest day. Like I am not
Yeah.
going to be able to do anything in the gym today.
Yeah.
Because granted, I also coach basketball after school, and so because I teach, and that helped me take me out of my zone a little bit. But even on the bus ride home from the away game, I started crashing again because of everything that went on. So I was like,
Hmm.
all right, we are going home. We're gonna. Oh, and what ended up happening is I had a literally, I have my own belief system that everything happens for a very particular reason. And right when I was on my way home, I had a group of buds say, "Let's go play some Warzone, go in proximity chat, and be toxic." And that's exactly what I needed to do. And so that was what I needed to do in place of the workout. And that is kind of something that I know I wouldn't have done months ago, and I know it's something that a lot of my friends that I lift with wouldn't do because
Hmm.
we're what Paul mentioned, that gung ho mindset. Like that
Yeah.
percent was me. And a lot of the people I work out with or see at the gym are like that. And being able to recognize that and being able to take a step and just say, all right, I'm not okay. The gym is not going to help me be okay. Let's just go home and, chill. Like
Yeah.
Paul and I both utilize video games. I've got a couple kitties here that I utilize as well. Paul's got his dogs. Like
I got
there's
books
things
too.
you yeah, there's things
Hmm.
that you do in your regular life that aren't the gym that are your like additional like helpers. And that's what you kind of have to recognize.
Yeah. Um, Something to add on to that, you reminded me. I couldn't think of who it was, but I remembered it. So one of my old coworkers at a previous job that I got laid off from, fucking hate tech industry because there's so many layoffs. Previous job I got laid off from. This is back in like, this is a few months ago. I'd have to take a look. He just popped in my head randomly one day. I was just like, I wonder how he's doing, because him and I were kind of like coworker buddies. We didn't like chat a lot. He lived in Louisiana. I lived here in Charlotte, so it's not like I saw him, but as far as like the way we saw the job, it, we were in similar boat. And basically I texted him, I was like, hey man, how's everything going? I hope you're doing good. And, hope you find a good job, or hope everything's good for you. Because I think on top of him, getting kind of laid off like I did, he also went through a situation with his family. And I was like, man, I just hope everything's good. And, I was just thinking about you, and hope you got through it okay and got a new position and got a new place in life, and hopefully you're okay. And he's like, yo, I can't express how important that text was. He's like, because I've been in such a slump lately. And he's like, I'm going to use that text as a sign, to kind of get back in the gym and start working on myself. And it's getting me emotional just thinking about it, because it's like, you never know, like, when you can affect someone's life like that. And like, it's, that's something that I've always strived to do, to like, sometimes I'll text a group chat. I'll text you. I mean, I'll be like, yo, just so you guys know, I love you guys and appreciate you guys all the time. And I'm always here for you guys. Like, it's just a simple text or just a simple phone call can really change the way somebody's feeling. And that's what happened to you. Just that Warzone text was just like, this is exactly what I need right now. And it just, like, I believe in something similar to you. It's just when things are supposed to be in your life, when something's supposed to happen, it will happen. And I believe that with so many different things. And when you're going through something tough, it's going to only make you tougher when you come out of it. But sometimes in the middle of it, there's going to be some grace. There's going to be some sort of sign. There's going to be something that you need, that life is going to give you. And I believe that in so many different facets of life, especially with money. If there's, like, for instance, right, when I was going to go fly home for holidays, I was so stressed out, how I'm going to afford these tickets. I'm like, they're $500 tickets for me and my wife to fly up there. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to afford it. I was like, I can't, like, neither of us could pay for it. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to buy these tickets. No shit. Later that day, Uber says, hey, because I hadn't driven for Uber for a couple months. They're like, hey, if you come back and do 15 rides, we'll give you $500 extra. And I'm like, there's a fucking sign. It's a
Yep.
fucking universe came down and gave me a gift. Like it's like you never like shit like that will happen. And if you just need to will it into existence. And everybody's going to argue religion and the way you look at things, but so many different ways of looking at life are so similar. So like I say, you got to put it out in the universe. That's what I say. You got to put it out in the universe and it'll happen. You got to say it. You got to will it into existence. But then somebody who's religious will say you have to pray for it. You have to ask God for help. You have to ask God for it. It's essentially the same thing. If you really think about it, it's just different wordage. So, I'm Roman Catholic. I was born Roman Catholic, raised it and everything. I believe in God and all of that. But for me, I believe in more self-help, and I believe more that you can help yourself a great deal before you start relying on religion. And I think that God gave us a strength to be able to help ourselves. And we're human. We're going to go through tough times, and He will be there when we need Him. But for me, I like to help myself as much as I can. And the universe, God, whatever it is, will help as well if you need it. So that's just something I want to mention too, because it's going to happen. Like those signs will come to you, and you will get the help that you need, and then you'll pull out and be stronger than ever. And I think that with like getting laid off, my director, who's above me, he was like, "Man, I'm so sorry that happened." He's like, "I had no idea they're going to do that." He's like, "If anyone was going to get laid off, I didn't think it was going to be. I would never think it was you, because in sales, you got to bring in your sales, but also there's other value you can bring to your team." And I brought a lot of value to the team, and not just sales. So it was very tough having to leave that job because I loved it. But he was like, "Look, this sucks, and I'm sorry. I've been there plenty of times. Everybody's been laid off. Everybody's been laid off before." But he was like, "This could be a blessing in disguise." And with where I'm going in my career right now and what I'm looking at for opportunities, I kind of do think it is a blessing in disguise, because I think that, I was kind of working too hard for what I was making, and it was kind of not going the direction I wanted to go in. But I think that the next position, knowing what I know now, I'm able to apply that knowledge to gain a better position in life. And, I'm going to do everything that I can to create a better life for me and my wife, so that, hopefully in a couple of years time, we can pop out some kids and be financially okay and not have to worry about a thing with them. So that's my motivator right now. And on top of that, I also want to get a good footing in my bodybuilding career prior to having kids. I want to be able to go pro before kids. So that's my goal within the next couple of years, is to go pro. Ideally this year if I could, but within the next couple of years, definitely. So that way I can start competing and actually making a little bit of money and having it at least pay for itself. That's my goal. If bodybuilding can pay for itself, that's what I care about. So if I can make enough money off of ideally some sponsorships one day and some shows to make enough so that these sponsors pay for my food, pay for my coach, pay for my, hormones, whatever it is, my blood tests, then I'm good. So, you just need to kind of look to the future sometimes and just accept that, you might be going through a hard time, but you'll get through it. And sometimes there are signs that will show you'll get through it. And, obviously resigning from a position that you loved is hard, no matter what, no matter who it was with. But also the people that you resigned to didn't obviously help. They shouldn't have reacted the way that they did. But either way, you were going to have a hard time doing it. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not fun quitting something. Even though you're not quitting, you're moving on to something better. But either way, it's not fun. But now just try your best to just look forward to the future. Get excited for your new position. Get excited for working, doing something different. And I think I'm a firm believer that change is sometimes exactly what we need. And I think that that's what you're going to get with this new position.
Yeah, and you say God, I think of Cthulhu preacher curling. So
With like his like
with his
tentacle
tentacle
beard.
arm, he's
Yeah,
just
you get his
curling.
gigantic dumbbells, like 300,000 pound dumbbells.
Oh yeah,
Get a
worlds.
pump.
He's just curling
Yeah.
them. Ronnie Coleman, who? No.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like his pinky toe is Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
His pinky toe can squat 2,000 pounds.
Yeah, and that kind of staying positive mentality is something that can be
Hmm.
applied to workouts as well, even if you're not stressing out, because like Paul mentioned earlier, and how he went into like a rut of like not wanting to do it anymore. We all get to those places in the gym world. So like if you ever get to that spot and you're just in a workout or maybe at home or doing posing or something like that, or just even taking like a Snapchat selfie that everybody does at the end of a workout. Like if you're doing one of those and you're just like, I don't see any change, maybe this isn't it for me. You got to understand that we are our own biggest critics, and we don't see the positive changes in ourselves until someone points it out. And that's something that you got to remember. So, like an example I'll give is I I've always struggled with having arm size, and I know Paul, it's one of your, weak points as well that you like to work towards as well.
Yeah.
And so I never really take pride in my arms, and I I forget what it was, but I posted one of my I haven't posted in a while, but back when I did, I posted a front double, and someone commented on one of the side veins coming down from one of my biceps, and I was like, shit, I didn't even look at that. I didn't even see that before. And
Yeah.
that kind of thing is something that I wouldn't have had someone else notice if I never even, put it out there. So if you ever get into a situation where you're thinking that it's not worth it or that it's not going to be something that is going to help you in the future, you just got to remember where you came from. That's why I tell every new person in the gym, take a picture before you even step in the gym, like a front, back, and side, just before you step in the gym. And then a year from then, 2 years from then, 3 years from then, take a look at it and
Hmm.
compare, and just, I mean, that in itself is going. Or and if you don't even notice the difference, send both pictures to somebody. Send a year ago to now to somebody, and they will comment on it, because if you're doing what you need to do and consistently working, training, and eating, you're going to be having changes. And that's the positive side of things we can spin on things. Because, like we mentioned earlier, we're all human, we go through this shit. So, maintaining positivity is kind of the biggest thing that you have to focus on, as hard as it is. It's it's easy to on this podcast to say, "Hey, just stay positive," and in reality, in the world, it's hard as shit. So you have to
Hmm.
find things that help you to stay positive. So, like for example, Paul has a wife. That is a great way to stay. Like someone will
Yeah.
help you stay positive that way. That's not, possible for everybody, or not yet possible for everybody. So you have to surround yourself with positive people, people who will build you up when you are not in a good situation. Like Paul and I haven't talked in like a week or two because we're both going through the ringer right now, but it took us all of like 5 minutes to get right back into it. You just have
Hmm.
to find people and surround yourself with positive people, because that's how you're going to pull yourself out of the shit.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, you got to stay positive, and I've talked about this before, where negative thoughts will directly affect everything. I mean, like just having that conversation with my coach, like just that week of like negative thought really affected me. That negative mindset. It just your mind is extremely powerful. So you got to understand that. And I think there's different routes you can take. There's so many avenues you can take when it comes to fixing your mental health. For me, I'm very opposite of a creature of habit. I love change, and I think that's part of the reason why I like sales and I like the gym and all of that. So when I say the gym, I don't mean training, because like training, you got to stay as consistent as possible, do the same thing over and over again. But like, it's the progress, it's the changes you see in the mirror, it's the changes you see over a grand period of time. Um, with a coach, I do weekly weigh-ins, so I can directly see how I was affected over the past week. And when you have a logbook, you can directly see how much weight you're lifting in comparison to the previous week. And there's this something that I firmly believe in is dopamine will directly affect everything, as far as like the way you view life. And I don't know if I mentioned it here before, but early December of last year, 2022, I got diagnosed with ADD. It's something that I apparently have had for a while, and I never really knew what it was. But really, it's not that. So it's typical ADD. It's not ADHD. It's ADD. Where for me, it's like, so when you have, with what I have, basically what it is I have trouble having interest in mundane tasks. As far as like, I don't want to do shit if it's mundane in any way. If it's not giving me dopamine, I have no interest in ever doing it. Chores are extremely difficult for me to do. I hate driving half the time. I mean, it's just, if it's not giving me dopamine, I don't enjoy it. And that's the reason I don't enjoy it, is because I don't have a baseline of dopamine to work off of. That's why I got so addicted to like shit like TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that, is because it gives me those dopamine hits that I need just to fucking survive. So that's when you work with like medication and different ways of structuring your day in order to keep that dopamine level increasing. And that's something that the reason I'm so excited for cabergoline next week is that it's a dopamine agonist. It's going to directly affect my dopamine in my body, is going to increase it. So I take a medication to help with my baseline dopamine, and I can directly see what days I didn't take it, because I don't want to do anything ever. Like, I never want to go to the gym. I don't want to eat. I don't want to. The only thing I want to do is like play video games or browse like YouTube shorts or Instagram reels or something. So, there are things in your life that you might not realize that are affecting you until you talk to someone about it. I talked to a therapist about it, and they said, go to talk to a doctor. I think you have ADD, and I think that, this medication may help. So I talked to them. I started taking it, and it's night and day. So for me, I like change. I like to feel excited about things. So one avenue that I take to, as far as like bodybuilding goes, is I like to change gyms. Ideally like once a year, I like to change what gym I'm going to. So soon, I'm going to change to a gym that's in Charlotte, most likely. Most likely change, I mean. And I checked it out yesterday, and I loved it. I hit arms, and it's something different. The equipment is just as good as the equipment I use normally, different brands and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm going to get the same workout that I would anywhere else. But looking at something new, enjoying something new, is enough for me to get motivated to start lifting again, or to go lift. So that's something that I use to look forward to the future. And that variability in your meal plan for me also affects me drastically too. If I have the same thing over and over again, I get so tired of it and never want to eat it. Chicken, like, I feel like half the time I eat chicken, I want to fucking throw up, just because I've had so much chicken for so long. I'm just
Yep.
so tired of it. And I never want, if we ever go out for food or anything like that, I never order chicken. I always order like steak, like a lean steak or something, because I never want to have chicken. I have it so much. Even though I have steak every day, I can still enjoy it. Chicken is just 3-4 times a day, all the time, and I'm just so tired of it. So that's why I'm so happy I got Greek yogurt in there, and I look forward to Greek yogurt every day. You got to have these little things that you look forward to. That's something that I firmly believe in. If you don't have something to look forward to, it's going to be difficult to keep carrying on with motivation and discipline. Obviously, discipline needs to be in place. Like, that's the difference between bodybuilders and people who do lifestyle fitness or anything, is the discipline. You need to stay disciplined. So I will always lift. I will always follow my meal plan, all of that. But whether or not I want to do it will drastically change how I feel about it. So wanting to be able to do something, or wanting to go to the gym, wanting to eat that food, is a very night and day difference than knowing I have to do it, and I have to do this, I have to do that, not wanting to do it. So that's going to affect everything. And when you want to go lift and you want to push yourself in the gym, you're going to have that much better of a workout. So, it's staying motivated is difficult. Discipline needs to be in place no matter what, but finding your different routes of motivation is important. And I found mine, and I just need to kind of follow up with it, really, at the end of the day. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and when you want to be in the gym, a completely different animal compared
Mm-hmm.
to not wanting to be in the gym. Like, not even just from a mental side, but a physical side, because obviously your thought process does affect how you're able to push yourself physically, and you're just an absolute animal when you're in the
Mm-hmm.
gym and you actually want to be there. Like, when I want to deadlift, I don't deadlift on my plan anymore, but when I was deadlifting and I actually wanted to deadlift, I wouldn't even need, half the stuff I use, whether it's my straps, my belt, or like chalking my hands or anything. Like, I just got in there and I did my work, and I actually wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That is really huge. So trying to get yourself to a point to actually want to be there, and for people who aren't in the bodybuilding world, they're probably like, or they're not probably like, I know that people not in the bodybuilding world who are in fitness are like, yeah, I want to be in the gym because I'm improving myself. And Paul and I are people who are, in the bodybuilding world. It's a different experience because we are doing things in a very specific way with a
Hmm.
very specific goal in mind, and it gets so tedious. Like, it almost, like Paul was talking about how he doesn't like chores, it almost becomes a chore sometimes
Yeah.
because it's just the consistency behind it, doing the same thing over and over again. Obviously, like within the workout, like maybe one or two exercises different each time, but for the most part, it is just the same thing over and over again. It's a chore. We hardly see gains in ourselves, even though we do lots of posing and body manipulation and water cutting and stuff like that. But it's tough. It is tough to actually want to go into the gym every day and do what, you know, obviously Paul's much further in this than I am, but it's tough to do what we do and
Hmm.
want to do what we do. And I don't recommend that everybody goes into bodybuilding. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I'm
Hmm.
saying that if you do, you have to understand that you start to lose your love for things, but you have to push through it because eventually sparks of it will come back. Like,
Yeah.
for for example, I used to love deadlifting. Like, deadlifting was my absolute favorite movement. And I got cut out of my plan just because my coach doesn't like how my back is structured right now, and he wants to see some more gains before we go back to the full movement. So I'm doing
What's the
rack.
focus? Like, what's
It
are
was
you trying to grow width or thickness?
well, the reason it was cut was because of some how I was curving my back, and he wants me to focus on the move, like the isolated back portion of the movement before we implement the entire movement,
Okay.
um, and just fix the structural bendage of my back, um, and but uh, I am going for width more than anything, just because I don't have that wide sense of things. But that's for separate parts of the workout. But when I started doing the rack pulls, once I figured out exactly where to get like the rack, because that you want to have it placed just below the lower of your knee,
Yeah.
and once I figured out how, like, once I got it in that position, I fell in love with it again. And that's that little spark that kept me going, because my first time doing it, I didn't really do the rack pull the way I probably should have, and then it was immediately followed by a barbell bent over row. Um, and that I didn't activate that right either. It was almost a shoulder shrug that when I did it the first time, because I wasn't angled down far enough.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost it, and then I came in the week after and I got the rack pull down, but not the bent over row yet. And then finally the third week, that final week after that,
Hmm.
I locked in both of them, and I was like, I actually enjoy my back day again. Like, I'm looking forward to these each day because,
Yeah.
back has always been one of my favorites, even though I struggle with it. Like, I don't have that as strong of a back as I should. So I struggle to do a lot of the movements, but it's one that I love, again, because
I
deadlifting is
love
one you
back day.
love.
It's so much
Yeah.
fun. It's one of my
Um,
favorites.
Yeah. And so now that I have that spark again, I'm
Hmm.
like, "All right, cool. I know it's coming. I'm ready for it."
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not today, but I'm gonna make it my tomorrow lift, because that's the next day in the plan. And
Yeah.
I'm just so like you get this excitement building again, especially when how stressful these past few weeks have been for Paul and I. Like, finding a little spark that could be enough
Yeah.
to motivate us for like a week, 2 week, maybe even a month, and that's
Hmm.
the very small things. So find small joy in or false words. Find small pieces of joy. It doesn't always have to be a big hitter. Like, wow, I'm gonna go talk to a girl today. No, it's got to be like something smaller than that. Be
Yeah.
realistic, man.
Yeah. I like changing up movements is also exciting. That's why I do it pretty often. More often than I should be doing it. You should stick to the same workouts for like 2 to 3 months roughly, and then changing it up from there. But what I'll do is different variations of stuff. Every like maybe a month, I'll change up the variation of whatever I'm doing. So instead of doing like machine flat bench, I'll instead do barbell flat bench, or instead of like barbell incline, I'll go into do like dumbbell incline. There's always these little changes that I do to keep looking forward and keep staying motivated, and especially when it comes to legs, because I fucking hate leg day. You need to for me at least, I need to change it up pretty often to at least like not hate myself every time I go in the gym. And, so like this last leg day I did was almost entirely different from the previous leg day. So instead of doing barbell squats, I did walking lunges. And instead of doing, the hoist dual leg press, I did V squats with the V squat machine. So it's like for me at least, I change it up pretty often. But I'm still kind of hitting the key movements, so like the V squat, which is quad focus, is not too far off from like a leg press. It's really not. It's a very similar motion. Walking lunges, or just lunges in general, is not too far off from a squat in a sense. The weight's still on your back. You're still kind of pushing directly from I do it for my glutes. So I push from my glutes instead of doing glutes from squats. So it's the driving factor is still very similar. So I try to change it up pretty often, but obviously I keep a logbook to see how much I'm changing each week. And like the past couple of weeks, I mean, I posted it to my Snap story. You probably saw it. 1 week I did 365 rack pull. I got like 3.5, but then the next week I got 8. And so like, I know I'm progressing really fast right now. And that's what's motivating me too, is that I'm like, okay, if I got 8 this week, what can I do next week? Should I up the weight? Should I go higher? Because I went from 3.5 reps. I was expecting at least 5, but I went from 3.5 reps to 8 in 1 week. So how fast am I progressing right now? So that's wild too. And then like every other movement on my back day was much heavier than it was before. So, keeping that motivation going is kind of difficult sometimes, but that's why bulking is exciting. And then cutting is exciting in its own way, because you start seeing fat coming off, and it is harder to see it day after day. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's like, wow, okay, I am really seeing it starting to come off. And like right now I have visible abs. Even though I'm putting on weight, I still have visible abs. And I mean, granted, it also depends on lighting. Like that's the reality when it comes to abs, is that lighting is very, very key factor to whether or not it looks like you have abs. So for me, like when I'm looking directly in a source of light that's coming straight at me, it's harder to see them. But then if I turn just a little bit in my bathroom, all of a sudden I can see all 6 of them. So it's like, lighting does play a big factor. But like that's motivating as well. And something I was going to lead into just now. Where was I going with that? To stay motivated. I'm forgetting right now, but it is difficult to stay motivated when you're not seeing any progress. And sometimes you do need to trust the process. That's something my coach says all the time, is trust the process, because you're, like we've said a million times, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And sometimes you might not make serious progress over 3 months, but then when you look back at what you looked like prior to the 3 months, you're like, okay, shit, I did make some decent progress. I just feel like I wasn't seeing it every day. So you got to kind of trust in that and know that everything's going to be fine. And, just because, something might be off 1 week, like if you're like waiting on protein powder and you're like, oh shit, I'm missing that protein powder or whatever. Creatine, I'm missing creatine. That's a good example. Creatine, like I don't have creatine this week. I ran out, but I got to wait till I get paid. It's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world that you don't take creatine for a week. You're not going to be affecting your body so much that you're going to be like going a step backwards. Like you're going to be fine. And that's also a worry that I have with anabolics. It's like, fuck, I'm almost out of this and I have to order it and it's not going to come until Monday and I'm going to run out Saturday. Oh, fuck. So I messaged my coach and he's like, dude, you're fine. It's fine. 1 day off is fine. Like it's not like you're going cold turkey. You're just missing 1 day and you'll be back on it the next day. It's no big deal. So that's also stressful too. And it does affect you a lot, when you need to figure out how to stay motivated and all of that. So it's good that you mentioned the movements, because it is exciting to have different movements and even different equipment and all of that. And just like, that's why I want to have like 10 different gym memberships, because I want to be able to change it up. And like, even though one leg press and another leg press might move differently, I'm still working the same kind of way. So that's something I need to do, is change. I need change in my life, and I'm very different from everybody for that reason. And I think that kind of comes down to the ADD. I need change. I don't like routine. I don't like structure. I don't like it. I like doing different things. So that's what keeps me motivated. And I feel like if I don't like different things, I feel like bodybuilding is the exact opposite of what I should be doing, because you got to be so consistent all the time. But you got to look to the future. And, sometimes I'll even ask my coach, like if I'm not motivated, be like, hey, to stay motivated, is there a goal that we have in mind for the next month or the next 3 months, or like when a show is coming up or something like that. Like, what is there a deadline I need to hit something? So like that's what I asked in December. I was like, after that conversation, I said, what's a good deadline right now? And he said, I want you to have visible abs by the end of December. And I was like, all right, cool. And we hit it. And now we're bulking and putting on that, putting on some weight, some good weight. I mean, a little bit of water, but not too much, and keeping it under control. And it is kind of motivating sometimes, but obviously I'm going through my layoff right now, and that's also hard too. So you got all these different facets of life that are going to affect you, and stress is just going to affect all of that. Motivation is going to affect all of that. Dopamine is going to affect all of that. My prolactin's affecting everything. There are ways around it too. Like you can take ashwagandha to help with your cortisol levels, which directly affects your stress levels. So like there's so much to do, so many ways to affect it and to get rid of stress or to get motivated again. And whatever avenue it is, that's up to you. And that's kind of what we're talking about today, is our avenues. And, not really much research, but at least how I do things and how you do things. So it's good that you mentioned the movements, at least, because that is a good one. It gets me excited.
And on the list of the 10 gyms that Paul wants, one of them is in Dubai, and it's one of the big
Oxygen
gyms.
Gym.
Yeah.
That's in Kuwait. Kuwait is where
Oh,
it's
Kuwait,
at.
sorry,
Yeah, it's
that's what I meant.
Oxygen Gym. That gym would be sick to hit at least once. And then also like Gold's Gym in Venice. I got to hit that one day. I
Yep.
really, really want to hit Bev Francis Powerhouse up in Brooklyn, New York. I really want to hit Bev Francis Gym. And then the Redcon 1 gym down in Fort Lauderdale. That would be sick. But that's where I was going, was something that I do to motivate myself. Especially with anabolics, I put on a lot of hair. I'm very hairy. I put on a lot of chest hair, a lot of belly hair. I got back hair. I got leg hair, all of that. So once every couple of weeks, I buzz it all off, and that gets me motivated because I can directly see the differences I've made over the past couple of weeks. Because body hair does affect how you look drastically. Somebody to look at who has a lot of body hair is Seth Feroce. He has a lot of body hair in his belly and his chest, but then when he buzzes it off, dude looks fucking next level. So
I
it's
thought
like,
you
it's
were about to
wild.
say I thought you were about to say Seth Rogen. I was like, we're on a different
No,
conversation.
no, 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 no. I think he is too, but Seth Feroce, he owns Axe and Sledge supplement company. Um, he is a good person to look at to see how much body hair affects you. Because he will have a lot of body hair and then he trims it all off, and dude will just he'll look shredded. It's wild. So I look forward to being able to buzz off my body hair. And when I do, I can see the progress that I've made, So that's what I like to do. I look forward to it. That's another way for me to stay motivated.
Yeah, and you also brought up something that I hadn't even realized. Talking about the ashwagandha, um, that's something that my coach put me on immediately when the meal plan started,
Yeah.
and I hadn't realized. I knew ashwagandha is a stress relieving supplement as well, and I hadn't even realized how I'm handling this entire situation the past couple of weeks is a lot more mature than I probably would have handled it, a year ago. And I'm
Hmm.
not at all going to say that ashwagandha is the sole reason for it, but it's certainly an it certainly has given me an increased sense of responsibility during this time because I'm not not going into the super dark depression mode every time something hits. And again,
Yeah.
not saying that's at all solely responsible for the ashwagandha that I'm intaking, but it's certainly a factor being played in it. So I didn't even think about that until you brought it up.
Yeah, it
Uh,
does. I mean, for me, it wasn't night and day, but it does help a little bit. I take it before bed, so it kind of relaxes me a little bit more before bed. Um, Everybody's a little different, and there's the new ashwagandha now. Um, I got to look up what it's called. It just recently I think it's like KSM 66. So ashwagandha KSM 66 is what I take right before bed. Um, it's a certain type of ashwagandha, and I mean, obviously, ashwagandha is going to help with stress, but it doesn't use the leaves at all. It's only the roots of the ashwagandha plant. Um,
that's
Let
what
me
mine
see.
says. It's just the root extract.
So is it KSM 66?
I'd have to go check the bottle if I'm being honest.
Okay. So apparently, this is a whole website dedicated to KSM66 ashwagandha. It took 14 years of development to get there. In 24 double-blind randomized placebo-controlled clinical trials. So double blind, for those who don't know much about statistics, double blind tests means that the person administering the test and the person taking the test, neither of them know what they're giving. So the person taking it doesn't know if it's KSM66 or if it's regular ashwagandha or if it's placebo. And the person giving it to them, the pill, doesn't know if it's KSM66, regular ashwagandha, or placebo. So in this case, it was randomized placebo-controlled clinical trial. So they had KSM66 and placebo. Um, and in those trials, it was proven to reduce stress, stress related food cravings, and enhanced quality of sleep, enhanced memory and cognition, increased endurance, strength, and immune function, and improved sexual function in both men and women, and testosterone in men. So I mean, stuff like this is not going to be like, you're not going to take it all of a sudden everything's going to get better. It's going to help with what's going on. It's a supplement. It's supplementing into your diet. You might feel a difference taking it than when you weren't taking it. So that's something that's going to do. It's like a multivitamin. You're not going to feel night and day taking a multivitamin, but when you take it, you might feel like a little bit different. You might feel a little better energy or something. You might feel, better sleep, whatever it is. So that's kind of what the KSM66 is going to do. So that's something that help with the cortisol levels, and cortisol levels directly affect your stress and your hormones and all of that. So it's something to help at least. And same with like adrenal gland resetting. If you've been kind of heavy on artificial flavors, heavy on artificial sweeteners, stuff like that for a long time, cut those out for about a week, and that'll kind of what's called reset your adrenal gland, which isn't necessarily a proven science, but it'll start helping make some differences in your body. So that's something to do as well. Might lower stress. It'll help with your brain activity. It'll help with your body making some more changes. All of that might help your hormone levels a little bit, just because you're getting rid of all that crappy shit that you're drinking. Like I'm drinking artificial flavors right now, so I might do that at some point too, like soon, just for myself, because it also helps me stay strict to the diet. If I can't have artificial flavors, I can't have anything besides like the meal plan, pretty much. So I might start doing that again soon. Who knows? We'll see.
I think that's a problem that a lot of people kind of have when they view supplements that we talk about, like ashwagandha and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's the assumption that I'm going to take this and everything's going to work out, or I'm going to take this and I'm going to see results right away.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a big misnomer that the supplement world has to deal with. Like we both talked about ashwagandha just now and how it is stress alleviating, but you can still have panic attacks and anxiety when you're taking ashwagandha. Like it's
Yeah.
not the end all be all. And I think that's another reason why some people stay away from the supplement game, is that they think that because it didn't work anecdotally for that person one time, it's not going to work for them. So
That's not how it works. Yeah.
exactly. You have to, and we've been saying it all episode, trust the process. Like the biggest one is the multivitamin. We're not going to see the effects of the like Paul and I are not going to see the effects of the multivitamin that we're taking until we're in our like 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., because it's just building you up for longevity. That's that's all it
Mhm.
really is doing. And yeah, you might feel a little better when you get like some of the more um like vitamin D or things like that from the multivitamin, because that just naturally builds up your happy hormones that we've talked about. Because believe it or not, for all you people who sit behind a computer all day, sunlight it makes you happy. Go out, go into the sun.
Yeah. It like literally
It
like
literally
for,
does.
it helps so much. That's why like that's why a lot of people's favorite season is like spring, is because the sun starts to get warm again, and all of that like lifts off you. Like I remember like the other day it was 65 degrees out here, and I walked outside into the sun. I was like, oh, like it just everything just lifts off your body, and
Yep.
like it directly affects everything. So really get some sun, and don't go like tanning, like get actual sun.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very helpful.
Real sun is important. Even tanning in the real sun might not be the move. Like you still want to be moving around and getting like your like just breathing natural air and shit like that too. So
Yeah.
I don't particularly do any natural tanning, so I can't speak to it. But
Yeah. My family's history of cancer kind of keeps me away from artificial tanning. Like,
yeah,
spray tan obviously for the shows, but like I don't go like tanning in a tanning bed or something like that. It's just the chances are of getting skin cancer is just very high for me. So I try to avoid that, and I also use a decent amount of sunblock when it comes to going to the beach and stuff like that. So got to be
yeah.
careful with the sun. It can be dangerous if you get too much of it.
But in terms of the stress conversation that we're having, honestly,
Yeah.
just going for a walk outside if you have the ability to during the daytime, that's huge right there.
Yep.
Um, nature as a whole, also, I mean, this isn't the case for everybody, but just being out in nature, put your phone, like leave it in your bag or something like that, and just go out into like for a hike or something like that. That's how, again, personal beliefs. That's how we're supposed to be, just out in the world. So
Hmm.
that personally helps me a lot. I know a lot of other people that use hiking or just nature walks and shit like that for their own personal gain as well. So using stuff like that is a great way to, de-stress a little bit, and it's a workout.
Yeah.
Hiking is a badass workout. For anybody who thinks that hiking is easy, you're not taking the right trail or you're not doing it right, because
Yeah.
it's like calves alone, you're cooked afterwards if you're doing it right. So I highly
Mhm.
recommend using it whenever you can. I try and do a hike a week. I've been, lacking on that these past couple weeks because of everything going on, but a hike a week is kind of the golden number for me.
Um, Something that I watched recently was a clip from the Joe Rogan podcast, and this guy, he was like Doctors Without Borders or something. I forget what he did, and he was in Africa, and they didn't have any service or anything like that on their cell phones or anything out there, so they had to they basically didn't do anything with them. So he couldn't really use it. He couldn't really contact anybody. He couldn't do anything with it, and he said after a week he literally felt all of his depression go. He didn't need his medication anymore. His stress was gone. Like he felt so much better not having, that constant temptation, that phone in your pocket all the time. And he's like, so he truly believes that technology is the reason why a lot of people are going through mental issues, and that's why like a lot of people have depression, anxiety, and stuff like that is because of technology. And which I could believe. I mean, I feel like my ADD probably kind of came from technology, honestly. Kind of ruining that dopamine baseline that I had throughout my life. Probably, like I said, probably came from just technology, from social media, from TikTok, whatever it was. So it can directly affect you, and just kind of cutting that out can change everything. And there is one time I remember my phone was getting fixed, so I had to use my wife's old like iPhone like 6 or something. I forget what it was. I All I did with it was I put my SIM card in it, connected it to my headset for Bluetooth so that I can listen to Spotify for my workout. I didn't have anything logged in. I mean, my phone number was hooked up to it, but I didn't text or call anybody because I didn't like it wasn't my phone, so I just didn't want to like use it and like lose those conversations. So um, all I did was just listen to music while in the gym and didn't look at the phone. And like, it was a phenomenal workout, like such a good pump because all I did was just focus on what I was doing in the gym. I had no temptation of my phone at all. And it really does affect you it pulls you out of the workout. And something that Arnold talked about was, staying in the workout. And he's like, I wouldn't take phone calls. I would barely talk to anybody. Like, he's like, when I'm in the gym, he's like, if I'm hitting chest, my mind is in my pecs. He's like, I make myself my pecs so that I can focus on my workout as much as I can. And then he's like, then I'll go do pull downs. And all of a sudden my mind becomes my lats. And all I can think about is my back. And that's what I'm so focused on. And so, staying focused and not using technology as a crutch, or at least like escaping the world with technology, helps a lot. It helps your mental stability a lot. It's been proven time and time again that, social media and technology has just really affected us in a negative way. So, trying to cut that out as best you can is crucial. I mean, right now I've been using my phone a lot more just because I've been home and not really doing much because of waiting for job interviews and stuff. But like when I was working, I tried to use my phone as little as I could. I set timers on all my apps and shit. So like, I try to use my phone as little as I can. And it's helped a lot. When I go through stuff like that, it helps a lot. Um, So it definitely affects us, and I can't wait for freaking spring, dude. With I need the warm sun back. I hate it. I hate the cold sun. I need it back.
And your cold sun is nothing compared to the cold sun we have up here.
No, no, that's why I bounced. Fuck that. I'm good. You guys have fun with
Yep.
that.
But that was a move that was also made for your mental sake too, because down there you're just happier and you're more yourself compared
Yeah,
to up here. It was like, which jacket do I have to put on today on top of my other jacket?
yeah. You go outside and your fucking teeth hurt, even though your mouth is closed. It's like, why do I live here? Like, why do I not even like? Why do I live somewhere that hurts my face? Like that was my reasoning, and I
Yep.
bounced, and it is much better down here. I mean, it's already like April weather for Massachusetts here. Like we got a high of 71 on like Thursday or something. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
it's already getting warm here. So
ugh.
I'm glad I made that move.
The
That's for
fucking
sure.
meme, that meme sound, the
I'd have to hear it.
yeah, I don't know what it's from.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we're covering like reviewing like three different episodes inside of this one. We did the mental side, the supplement side, or
yeah,
the social media side. We're hitting a lot today.
yeah, I hate a little bit of
But
everything. Yeah,
but that's kind of also how I like that we're doing it because last week was one of our solo episodes too. So back in and just kind of hitting everything again. Um,
yeah,
I think it's interesting that you brought up the Arnold thing because that's a mindset that not a lot of people can even get to because not a lot of people can even think about the muscle that they're hitting. And to be able to put yourself mentally inside of whatever muscle, like that takes a lot of discipline of knowing exactly what's moving at exactly what time in your particular exercise or movement.
hmm
Um, so I think to build into that, people should really just we time under tension is something we preach, and max time under tension reps are huge for building mind muscle connection. So ideally you want to be spending 3 seconds in the negative with a second or two in the positive, something like that. And then max time under tension, maybe even stretching that out to 4 or 5 seconds. And doing that to really build your connection with the muscle. So I can do that very well with now with my back. I struggle with it a lot on chest. So a conversation I've had with my coach is that very thing. And so we do, I think, out of the 5 movements I'm doing for chest, 3 of them have multiple sets of max time under tension reps.
hmm
And being able to do that to mentally put yourself in a good position to build that mind muscle connection, not yet building into I am the peck, but like building into that, that's kind of a really good step to be taking. So we've preached time under tension before, but I think it's a great thing to do to, take yourself out of your mental everything that's going on stress wise as well. Because if you focus solely on whatever movement is going on and whatever muscle is being worked, you can't really think about anything else because lifting is complex. Like there's a lot of different factors and a lot of different muscles being activated, even on isolation movements. Because like bicep isolation, you still have your long head and your short head, and you have to be focusing on what you're trying to hit more than the other. Like that's a
hmm
lot of what goes into taking yourself out of your own mental state, which is why we call it like iron therapy or the iron paradise. You'll hear different things like that. Um, so I think that's really interesting that you brought that up.
yeah. My pecs are one of the things that I really have like a really good mind muscle connection with.
I
Uh,
am the peck.
yeah, it's fun when you get into that when you start like when it starts to click. I said it before, like it's semi gradual, but a lot of times when something starts to work, you realize it, and it's different muscle heads and different ways, different muscles you hit, you'll just click. It'll just be like, oh shit, now I can hit it this way now. That's how pecs was, and now I can hit like every single part of my pec that I want in a particular way, and focus on it that way. And it's really fun because I could like whenever I want, I could squeeze the middle section of my pecs and like have like striations coming out of it, or like squeeze like my upper pec, my clavicle pec. So it's like it's fun building that up, and it's motivating because now you're like, fuck, now I can really get like a gnarly pump when I go to the gym. And I think it's like that's something I did yesterday. I was just like, you know what? I want to hit arms at a new gym, and I also want to just focus on the pump. And I took the steel supplement stuff that we get for the shirt with the shirts. I
Yep.
took the amped AF and the or no charged and pumped up and charged. I forget what it was called. It was two pre-workouts because that's how most supplement companies build it that way. Is like you got the nootropic and you got the pump focus, and you're supposed to buy both and combine them when you. That's where they do a lot of similar flavors. The pump and the focus pre-workouts should have the same flavors basically, so you get the same flavor for each one and combine them into one drink. And that's what I did yesterday because I just wanted as much of a pump as possible, and that's what I did in the gym. I started off with FST7 superset, which I always do, but then I went into dumbbell curls and started off with 25-pound dumbbells and doing 20 of them nice and slow for both biceps. And it's like my fucking arms are going to fall off after that set. I'm like, shit. Like, I'm so pumped up right now. So it was
High
fun.
volume
It's fun.
sets. High
Yeah.
volume
Like,
sets
really,
are fucking
yeah.
brutal.
Really high volume sets and just focusing on the blood flow because I do hit 2 arms a week, 2 arm days a week. So it's not the end of the world if I do pump focus instead of like a progression focus. So I just did a pump focus because all the equipment was like slightly different, you know. The cable machine was heavier than usual, so I had to kind of adjust the weight accordingly. And like the dumbbells had a thicker grip than usual, and like the dip machine, it was a dip machine rather than like body weight dip. So I had to adjust it accordingly. So I just let it just be about pump rather than actual progression. And I did write down all of my weights and everything because I plan on going to that gym. So down the road when I start going, I can kind of pick up where I left off. But it's fun to do that. It's fun to do a pump focused workout sometimes. The only time I never do a pump, the only workout I don't do a pump focused ever is legs, unless unless I do. I used to a long time ago. I used to do split leg workouts. So I had a quad day and a ham and glute day, and then that's when I sometimes do like a quad focus like pump workout, and pumping up your quads like crazy is nuts. But with a full leg day right now, I have to focus on progression. And something we'll talk about later day is how to grow legs. And one thing I've always done with legs is that you need to do what you don't want to do because your body's going to naturally want to be uncomfortable or be comfortable. You're naturally not going to want to put yourself in pain, especially when it comes to legs. So when you go into the gym and you're looking at the equipment and if you're not already have a set workout or something like that and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, if you look at something, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do that. Now you got to do it because your mind immediately went to, I don't want to do it. So you got to do it. And that's something I've always believed in. Like I looked at the V squat machine the other day because I was like, man, what am I going to do for quads? I was like, I don't know if I want to do. I was like, leg press would be kind of fun. But somebody's using a leg press right now. I don't know. And I was like, I don't really want to use the hoist through a leg press because that's more glute focused. And I looked at the V squat machine. And I was like, fuck, that sucks. I was like, oh man, now I got to do it. So I went over and did that. And that shit sucked. I got up to like 3 plates and a quarter or something and did like 8 or 9 reps out of that. And I wanted to fucking die. So it's nuts. It's nuts when you approach it that
See,
way and you start making some good leg gains.
I do that with weight. So right now I'm hitting, mostly the same exercise every day, but I do it with
Mhm.
weight. So like for example, in my plan, I do a warm up set of high volume for almost every single exercise. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna do hack squat for example. My warm up set on my hack squat is 20 reps, which is brutal because hack squat is a brutal exercise.
Yeah.
Um, and then my second and third sets are 75% intensity, and so that could be a really challenging thing to load up the weight, like higher weight, because I'm thinking to myself 75%. I'm like calculating in my mind what I could do for the rep count in that 75% range in terms of weight. And it's
Mhm.
hard to progressively overload that. So
Mhm.
when for example, so the hack squat we use has a base weight of 75. And we're not allowed to use bands on it at Empire anymore because bands are breaking too
I
much,
mean,
and
you
so
shouldn't be using bands on anyways, but
yeah,
to help with
yes
knees,
and
I
no,
guess. But
yeah,
people kind of like
it
overload the weight and then put too many bands on it, and that's when it becomes a problem.
yeah, it is in my plan to use it with bands. So just because of how I've described my knees to coach,
Yeah.
and so I do my 20. my right now my 20 warm up is just literally just the hack squat, like the base weight, and
Yeah.
so then I know my top set is going to be 1.5 to 2 plates. So it's really tough for me to say, all right, let's take this first 75% one at 1 plate and then go up from there. And so anytime I have, like, when you say, like, anytime you question it, you should do it. So anytime I'm sitting there going, what do I want to
Yeah.
do for, set two? Ah, shit. All right, here goes the plate. And that's like what
Right.
you have to do with. So even if it's not with exercises, do it with weights, because the big thing I struggled with for years is the intensity. And so now that I'm wrapping my
Mhm.
mind around that intensity value, that's what we have to be doing in the gym. So I think that's can be applied to weights as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that he has you doing 75% specifically. I with my weight, I go incrementally based off of whatever I'm doing. So like rack pulls, I start with 2 plates on each side and go up by 25 pounds for each set. So I do 220, or I do 2 plates, then 2.25, then three, and then 3.25. So that's how I incrementally go up. I don't base it off a percentage or anything like that. And that's how I've always done it. If it's like, bicep curls, I'll do 5 pounds per dumbbell and go up that way. I would do 2.5 if I could, but the gym doesn't have 2.5 pound dumbbells. Most gyms don't. But as far as like incrementally, Vanarchy does. Back home, it's like 30, 32.5, then 35, then 37.5, which is awesome. But most gyms don't have that. So I go up incrementally based off of whatever I'm lifting. If it's a cable machine, I'll go up 10 pounds if it's 10-pound increments, but then sometimes I'll throw in a 5 pound plate to like kind of slowly go up incrementally, but I never base off a percentage. And so, like with the dip machine yesterday, I started off with like 96 pounds or something, just to feel it out. And I got like 16. I was like, okay, that really wasn't that hard. And then I like jumped at that. Like I jumped like 40 pounds or something from that to the next one. And then after that, I was only like 12-pound jumps because I had to figure it out. So I kind of just based off of however it's feeling. And then I kind of go up from there. And whenever I log it the next week, I see what I hit last week. And then from there, I'm like, okay, either I need to hit another rep or increase the weight, and then do the same thing the next week. Okay, I kind of hit that. Do I need to increase the reps or do I need to increase the weight? And then I just keep doing the same increments. But as far as finding something new or whatever it is, I just go up incrementally based off whatever I'm lifting. If it's a bar, it's most likely bigger increments than if it's like a machine or a pin or something like that. So it's interesting he has you doing 75% or percentage, because that's usually like that's like a myofibrillar based workout or like powerlifting based workout is their percentage. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's progressive overload through the 75%. The way he describes it is like like the example I'll give using the hack squat still is it's a 10 rep set, but it's something that you could clear 13 to 15 reps of that particular
Yeah.
weight.
So
So
he's making sure
and
you're not going to mechanical failure.
exactly, but
Yeah.
you're still progressively overloading the weight to give the intensity.
For
So
future
it
sets.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
like my leg day this week, I think I sent you the picture of the the little 5 pound plate that I threw on.
Yeah.
Um Again, leaving ego at the door, but using my warm up set, which this one is what I really struggle with, is just the 5 pound plate on the hack squat. That's it. That's the ego thing right there, because again, it's the warm
Yeah.
up set for I have to clear it for 20, and I did the base weight on the hack squat last week for my warm up set. So literally just taking that little 5 pound plate, putting it on each side, and going. It's like, and I'm making noises because it's still an intense movement, and people are looking at me making noises, and there's just a 5 pound plate on each side, and even I had to laugh at it. And one of my buddy's girlfriends was working out next to me, and she was like, "You're a fucking goon."
it just shows that you're kind of particular in what you're lifting. If you throw
Yeah,
in like like that's so particular. Like most people won't even bother. They just do body weight. So like to put on the 5 pounds, people are like, you'd be like, all right, this guy's truly trying to go for progressive overload and he's
yeah.
focusing on it. It's like when I do different workouts, I'll add 2.5 pound plate on the inside of the bar so that
That's what I
every
was gonna.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think I commented on when you did that.
Yeah, and like everything, all the weight outside of that was for the sets itself, and it was very uneven weight. It was like a 25, then a 10, then another 25, then like a 5. That's just for like the actual set, so that I can hit a specific weight for each set. But like adding that 2.5 pound to the inside of the bar, every single set I hit from there is 2.5 pounds heavier. But it looks like you're not adding much. It's like, damn, I'm really not adding much, but like you are in a sense. Talk to any power lifter. Throw on a 2.5 pound plate on each side of their PR, they can't lift it. It's too heavy. It's 5 pounds too heavy. So it's a wild thing to think about that's like literally the threshold of how much you can lift, but it really does affect your progressive overload in the long term. Because if you like, I've talked about it before. Like, if you think about it, if you add, let's say, 2.5 pound plate on each side of your bench, right, and you increase that by 2.5 pounds each side per week, then so that's a 5 pound increase every week. After a year, you'd have a 250 pound increase on your bench, technically. So that's five and a half plates, just about, right? So like that's like a 5 and a 10. That's like so we're talking so five. So it's 5 plates, and then you're adding 20 more pounds on top of that. So that's kind of like 2 plates and a quarter, and then a 2.5 on each side that you're adding to your overall bench throughout the year. That's after a year, no matter what you started on. Obviously, that's not how the body works. You're never gonna like you can't increase that much weight that drastically. Like you're not going to go from 225 for your PR to 500 in a year. It's not going to happen. You're going to hit plateaus and you're going to stop, and it'll get too heavy. But it might seem like a little bit, but in the long term, it's fucking a lot. If you keep progressively increasing that amount. So that's why I'm so excited about my back and doing rack pulls. Like my goal now is 4 plates each side for 8 within a month. And then my other goal is 225 for 12 for bench in a month. And then, well, now it's like 3 weeks. But then my squat, I want 315 for 12 within a month, more like 3 weeks now. So I have 3 weeks to increase all of those weights to
Yeah.
that rep range. The bench was the only one my coach set. He said, I want you to hit 12 for 225 in a month. But the rest of them were for myself. So I'm hoping to do four plates rack pull and 3 plates squat for 12. That'd be awesome. And having those goals is fun to kind of go after them because you have to push yourself, So it'd be fun going after it.
Well, the first week that I was talking with my coach, and this was before he gave me the workout plan, he did tell me that like my intensity has to go up, and I was hitting legs that day, and he had me do a leg press heavy volume, so it was a 30 20 15 30, so
Mhm.
30 reps, 20 reps, 15 reps. Um and I had never done big volume like that before, so I went 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate for
Yeah.
each of those, and I was cooked afterward. Like slithered out of the fucking leg press machine. You know
Yeah.
how that is, like when you're dying. And
Yeah.
I texted him, and he was like, "Cool, now triple the weight." And I was like, "This motherfucker."
Yeah. No, he's got a
So
point. You could probably push
yeah,
yourself way harder than you think you can.
yeah, and that's the case with a lot of people. Like they never realize what they have in the tank. That's
Yeah.
why, like, I actually love taking not I don't take on clients, like, I don't do any of that yet, but, like, when I have people that I'm friends with that I work like, want me to help them work out, I actually really love taking on women to help them do stuff because I don't know what it is, every female friend I have does not push themselves to failure. Like, I don't know what it is, like, I have a friend who can basically deadlift what I deadlift, and yet she stops herself at like 1 plate. And I'm like, you can do so much more. Like, come to the 315 range. Let's go. Like, she
Hmm.
could do it, but she doesn't push herself. So, to failure, I should say. So, I don't know if it's like a mentality thing between us dudes in the gym versus ladies in the gym, but that's why I love taking on my friends who are female who want help in the gym because I could sit there and be like, "You have so much left in the tank. You need to like, I'm not letting you out of this machine until you give me another 6 reps." Like, there's so much more that you can do. And granted, there are guys that are like that too, but I just see it far more prevalent in ladies.
Yeah, and a lot of them also don't want to like look manly or anything like that, so they do like kind of like the bare
That is,
minimum.
yeah,
So
it's all booty.
there, yeah, there is that, and I just fucking, dude, I was thinking about that during leg day, and I'm like, it must fucking suck to be a chick and have to focus on legs so much because they do like 3 or 4 leg days a week. And I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
fucking stand one leg day, let alone like three. I mean, granted, it's just what they are judged on, but it's like, I fucking hate it. I hate leg day. And I think that if you like leg day, I think you're probably doing it wrong, most likely. Because it's like, there's plenty of people have told me, oh, I love leg day. It's fun. And it's like, I don't understand how someone can enjoy something that like, you have to be kind of masochistic almost to
Well, see,
enjoy
that's the
leg
thing.
day.
I enjoy I enjoy the feeling of leg day. I don't enjoy doing the movements, like, when I'm in my top set of squats, I fucking don't wanna be there, but
Yeah.
afterwards, when I'm walking out, it's almost like when you do a morning lift compared to an evening lift, you have your hormone levels that are, increased, like, we're talking about, you just feel better after you do a lift, and
Yeah.
granted, leg day sucks because you can't really walk afterwards, but if you do that, or me personally, I enjoy that feeling. So it's not I'm enjoying the movements, I'm enjoying the feeling following,
Yeah.
if that
Yeah. That's
makes sense.
fair. Yeah. I mean, I'm the same thing with like arms. Like, I don't like doing arm days, but I like having an arm pump.
Yeah.
So it's just not fun movements. And like, I'm talking about people who just like doing squats and like doing leg press and stuff like that. Like people who like lifting legs. It's like, I just don't think you're doing it hard enough because it should fucking suck. Like, you should hate every second of it. Every second of it. It sucks so bad. And, you know, if you like it, that's up to you. But you gotta, like I said, you gotta be kind of like masochistic to enjoy that because there's a lot of burning and a lot of pain that comes with pushing yourself in legs. But I mean, what's one thing I meant to add earlier was that you kind of have to be crazy to do this shit. Like, you have to be kind of crazy a little bit to enjoy bodybuilding, like to do this shit. Like, it's such a weird concept. I was thinking about it the other day. The concept of bodybuilding, or really anything in the gym in general, is let me go stress my body out so much I actually tear muscles and force my body to repair them. And at the same time, let me do it as efficiently as possible so that I can gain as much muscle size as possible. Like, it's such a fucking weird concept because you're not supposed to be doing that. We're not supposed to be lifting. Like, realistically, it is good for us to an extent, but like to the way that we're doing it, it is not good for us. And your body's not supposed to be stressed that way. Look at like anybody who lives off the land in like Africa or any like Greenland
10%.
or anything like that. Like those guys, how they're built is how we're supposed to be built. Like, it's supposed to naturally produce muscle, supposed to naturally tear muscles in order to produce more muscle and strength and endurance and all of that. So like when you look at these like uncontacted tribes and shit, they look skinny, but their like performance is fucking top notch because they have to survive. So it's a weird concept to be like, yeah, I'm gonna purposely strain my muscles so bad that I actually injure them to then regrow thicker muscle in those areas. It's a weird concept, and you have to be kind of crazy to do it. Have to eat the same thing over and over again, and you have to keep training and not stop, and then do cardio to like help you with your cardiovascular system, and maybe even lose some weight if you're prepping for a show. And then for a show, you get down to such a low body fat percentage, ideally, that your body can't even function normally without the assistance of anabolics or hormone supplementation. Like, you get below 4%, we literally cannot produce testosterone below 4%. So you have to take
Yeah.
shit to get what you need. It's like you're getting down to such a low level that is so inhumanely like like achievable just to be like, yeah, this is the best look I could possibly get. It's like we're not supposed to do that. Like, probably like 8 to 10% body fat is like ideal. Like, that's probably like perfect right there. Like, visible abs, not fat, not skinny, but like enough to like have good performance and also like feel good. Below 4%, and then you like cut out all your water to lose all your fucking water and shit, and then you like pose and flex your muscles while you have like nothing in your system. It's like, this is fucking wild. It's such a weird, like, that's why we can't explain why we like this. Like, I could never explain why I like it to my wife. Like, she could never understand it. It has to be part of who you are. It has to be part of your lifestyle. And that's why, like, I've said time and time again, I did it today, discipline over everything, because you have to keep doing it. You can't stop doing this. You're not a football player or basketball player where you can go practice and go home and eat what you want and go back and do it again. You can't do that. You have to live it. It has to be part of who you are as a person. And to stay disciplined, it's a 24/7 sport to compete. It's 24/7. I never recommend it to people unless they truly, truly want it, because it is your life, and it is inherently selfish. It will affect your relationships. It will affect the way you see the world. It will affect your daily schedule. It will affect your work. It'll affect everything. So doing it in a way that assists you mentally is what is going to help with the future. And, you know, like I said, mental health over everything. And if it's so detrimental to your mental health that you just shouldn't do it at that point. If it's extremely detrimental, don't do it. But it's a very, very fun sport, and I love it. But we have to be crazy to do it. It's fucking wild if you think about it. It's wild.
We have to be mentally unwell.
Yeah, it's like to put yourself through that pain, like leg day, like putting yourself through so much pain that you actually fail lifting the weight, and it burns so bad your body stops pushing your muscles because you're going to tear them. Like, that's fucking wild.
Yep.
It's such a weird concept, and yet we keep fucking doing it. It's wild. It's so weird, but it's part of who we are. We can't explain it. Can't explain it.
And this is how we take out our stress.
Yeah.
This whole system that we have in place with the gym, this is how we handle our overarching topic for today, is that
Yeah.
our stress gets relieved through what we do in the gym. Even though sometimes we don't want to be there, most times we don't want to be there, like we take care of things in the gym. And I don't know, I've always, ever since I got back in the gym, like consistently a couple years back, it's it's just been the one thing I can rely on day in and day out. Granted, I'm a lot more mature about it now, but day in and day out, it's the one place that my peace is found. So,
Yeah,
good thing to keep in mind moving forward.
Yeah. It's definitely my stress reliever, and is I can definitely feel the difference when I have a rest day. That's why I like doing 6 days in the gym, because I do need the rest, but also I don't like rest days. I just mentally need to lift. I love the mental side of things. I need to kind of relieve some stress. That's my stress reliever. I blow off all my steam in the gym. Other people have different avenues. I used to be able to do that with motorcycles when I had my street bike, but I don't have that anymore. So I can't get that rush of dopamine and adrenaline and all of that from my bike. So I have to find other avenues for it. So other people have guns. People have, fucking, I want a house so I can chop down trees. I think that would help me a lot. I think exerting a lot of stress.
When COVID started, I literally made it, I cleared about, I think it's 20 yards worth of trees in my parents' backyard.
Yeah. I want a house so that I can clear trees. I don't even know what I'd do with the wood. If we had a fireplace, then I'd save it. But like, if we didn't have a fireplace, like, I don't know what I'd do with it. I just put it on the
Just
street.
built
Like,
it.
yeah, could. Yeah. But
I made a canoe today.
yeah, I've been making a 3-person canoe the past 3 months, just from wood I'm chopping down, because I want to stab someone all the time. It's my anger release. Yeah, I would love to have a house just so I can chop down trees and like mow the lawn and shit, like for a stress reliever. But everybody's got their avenues, and mine is just the gym right now, and I need it. I need it, especially right now with everything that's been going on. I really need to hit the gym, and I don't really look forward to cardio typically. My shoulder day, I called it and didn't do cardio when I normally would do cardio after shoulder day, because my shoulders were just like, my joints were just killing me. From I think it was back or arms the day before, and it was just my shoulders were just hurting. So I called it on cardio, but I sometimes even look forward to cardio, just being able to kind of tone out the world a little bit and just read a book, and just kind of walk on the Stairmaster, step up to Stairmaster, and it's a good time. But you got to be kind of crazy to do this shit. It's got to be part of you.
Yep. But that's that's basically the best way to end this conversation. You got to be tapped to be able to handle all this. So
it's fucking wild.
With that, guys, we'll be back next week, and I hope you enjoy and keep listening, guys.
Yeah, see you guys. Stay lifting, stay healthy, keep eating. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.